Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to my race recap of the Elm Street Run Festival 10 miler. Before we get into the actual video and all the gear, just like your long runs, LSD, long slow distance, it can also stand for like, subscribe, and ding the bell. That way the channel can grow, and it would make this guy happy right here, and then he wouldn't be so lazy. All right, let's get to it. Good morning, everyone. Elm Street Run Festival 10 miler in Greensboro, North Carolina is the race that's happening today. So here's my gear for the day. I know Khan is really upset because I have his ottoman taken up with all my stuff right now. Right, buddy? Anyway, let's get to it. Reckless running singlet. This one I've had for quite a while, where I did my one and only 100-mile race in this singlet. Gooder sunglasses. I find that the wraparound ones work best for me during a race. I'm gonna take this caffeinated goo before the start, and probably take this caffeinated Martin during the race. Like I've said before, during a 10-mile race, I probably don't need to take a goo during it, but I'd rather take it and get the zip from the caffeine. I always run in Gingy toe socks, and I prefer the lightweight toe socks, especially when racing. I am a big fan of the North Face BTN shorts, just because they have good pocket storage, even the split shorts like this one. I'm going to be doing my warm-up and cool-down in the New Balance Fresh Foam More V4. And the star of the show, in fact, my first run out of the box in these, the Nike Vaporfly 3, of course. I don't even really want to do a shakeout run in these yet. I ran on a few steps in the store, and they seem like they're going to be the real deal. But as I've said before, Vaporflies with me, there's a durability issue, so I don't want to gamble with these. I'm just going to use them for the race and see how they do in a race setting, because of course I'm thinking of shoes that I want to use for Chicago Marathon in October. So that's my gear for today, and gonna get some coffee and take this guy for a walk, and then we'll get on the road and go to Greensboro. It's about 6 o'clock in the morning, and I'm here in Greensboro, a bit earlier than expected. I think packet pickup is in about half an hour, so I've got some time to kick around. I might just take a nap in my car. I'm in the parking garage right now. I'm about a block from the finish line. I don't know if you can see it there. But it's going to be a warm day in the high 60s with a dew point in the low 60s. So it'll be humid. Don't know if the breeze will help all that much. So I can expect some pain, but that's the 10-mile race. Looks like the start line's gonna come down this block and turn left here, another left. It's gonna go that way for about a half a mile, turn around, and then it's one big out and back. That's like 4 some miles that way, and then coming back uphill to this finish line. So yep, this is Elm Street, for which the race was named after. If I look down this way, it might be kind of hard to tell in this frame. That's kind of the last mile coming in, but it's one long grinding uphill. There's mile 1 right there, because we go that way first, then come back, and then there's the long out and back. Just yeah. So Ben and I are doing a warm-up on what's going to be the last mile of the course, it'll be a pretty screaming second mile downhill, but then we got to run back up this crap at the end for the 10th mile. So we're looking forward to that. Ben and I have just finished the cool down. The humidity has arrived, so I'm gonna change my shoes and get toward the start. We got about 20 minutes. It's gonna be a rough day, but that's why we do it, right? All right, first run of these. It's gonna be a race. I know they say nothing new on race day, but I'm kind of throwing caution to the wind here. True to size, I went on these. They're a bit snug, but they're locked in. And they are a racing shoe, so we'll see how they do. I had to size up a half size on the OG Next Percent. All right, let's get to the start line, I guess. Ooh, that was a brutal race. 62:09-ish, about the same pace I ran Tar Heel 10 miler. It is a hotter day. Like I said, high 60s, it might be in the 70s now, and the humidity was just killer. Second age group, I think. Started out in just about the right place. I might have passed 3 or 4 people. Got passed by both the first and second female, which I'm totally fine with because they were fast as hell, and I wasn't really racing against them. But yeah, just some brutal, long, grinding hills that were just kind of demoralizing. Happy with what I did, put in the work. Yeah, more on that later. So not so much related to the race, but getting in these New Balance Fresh Foam More V4 for my cool down and then walking around on them has been absolutely lovely. If you're gonna go pick one shoe to take on vacation and just do a bunch of easy runs, these are the ones. All right, I'm on my way to awards. It's turning into a pretty nice day. Wish it felt this nice when I was running. So, is this art?
Oh yeah.
So I'm coming to see if I can spend my age group award here, and I noticed this parking spot, which I thought was pretty cool. So good form, Fleet Feet, good form. All right. Elm Street Run Festival 10 miler. So much to talk about with this one. I did have fun. I do have to preface by saying that because it was brutal. It was tough. I think all 10-mile races should be tough, and the conditions, the humidity in the hills made it tough, but it was fun to get out there and race. It was a deep field. Even though there were not as many participants as something like, say, Tar Heel 10 miler, the field was deep. The top 3 runners were in the low 52s, 53s. I know the winner, Donnie, had won the previous year and ran a 49 something. That'll tell you something about the heat, is that he ran 2.5 minutes slower this year. The second place guy ran a 2:22 marathon at Chicago in September, and he got second. And Eric, who is a local Davidson guy, was a distant third, and he just came off, well, not just, but a couple months ago ran a 1:06 half marathon. So it was pretty deep. In fact, Ben, who runs with us and did the warm-up with me, he was 7th overall, and he is often someone to outright win races like this. He did win overall Masters, and that was $100 for him, so good for Ben. Okay, enough about them. More about my Sufferfest here. So I'm going to start with the recap here, just kind of going by, not exactly mile by mile, but a bit chronologically. Looking at my splits, the first couple of miles were the fastest, but they were also the easiest. The first mile was pretty flat, and everyone was kind of, all the fast people were kind of running together, and the second mile was downhill. I think I mentioned that on the warm-up, that one was going to be pretty downhill. Yeah, so went through those pretty fast. Both of those were sub 6 miles, and kind of evened things out in the third mile, where that was a 6:07 mile. Came through 3 miles in about 18 flat, and through the 5K in about 18:35, 18:36, which would have been on pace for a 1 hour 10 miler. I knew going in that this was not going to be a 1 hour 10 miler. I just don't know that my fitness is quite there yet without perfect conditions and a good course, I could really put myself in a lot of pain trying to shoot for 60 minutes. I figured 61, 62, certainly anything sub 63 was in range. So I knew I was going to, that third mile, even though it was still a little fast, was part of a slowing trend, and it was kind of intentional, kind of pulling back to what I thought my 10-mile race effort would be. And then we started getting into some of the roller hills as we started heading outbound, northbound on Elm Street. And that slowed me down. You know, I was kind of more in the back and forth mileage of pace per mile that I would get on a rolling course. So that I eventually, after the turnaround, which, by the way, going up to that turnaround, there was about 1.5 miles of steady climb that got steeper at the end, leading to the turnaround at 5.5 miles. And it was just demoralizing. It was brutal. It doesn't matter if you were at the front of the race or wherever, everyone had the same feeling about just going up that hill just to turn around and come back. It was really hard to get your wheels moving under you again after it and really pick up that pace and take advantage of the long downhill afterwards. Anyway, after that, I came through 10K in 38 flat, according to my watch at least. Right around 10K is when I caught up to Jeremy, who is a local Greensboro, Winston-Salem area runner, who I've seen at a lot of events. And Jeremy and I are usually about similar fitness. He just did a 250 at Boston last month, so he was carrying some good fitness into this one. And he had been pulling ahead for a lot of the first half of the race. I did not expect to catch up to him, but I caught him. Shortly afterwards, I was passed by Elle, who was second female overall. The first place female, Gabriella, had passed me long before, pretty much after a conservative first mile. Those two were the only two to pass me the whole race, were the first female and the second female. And they were both looking pretty strong. I wouldn't say they were negative splitting, but they were keeping more of their strength as the race went on and got harder and harder. So going back over those rollers, some of them going back up steep hills that I don't remember going down. Of course, I did go down them. And just really taking a hit energy-wise and kind of letting it come to me. I went through kind of, I'm looking at my splits here, that's why I'm looking off to the side. I went through kind of the same mentality that I did for Tar Heel 10-miler, and that was to kind of manage my effort, go out conservatively and manage my effort, run the hills by effort, and not try and maintain any particular pace. So it really seemed like I was kind of dialing back on the hills when really I was just kind of maintaining that effort. And going by feel, I'm going to throw up a picture here, right here. The top is my actual pace, and the bottom in purple is the GAP, the grade adjusted pace. And if you're a Strava subscriber, then you're familiar with GAP. The actual pace, you can tell, goes up and down and undulates along with the course, whereas the GAP is a little bit more flat, a little bit more smooth, which goes to say that my effort was pretty managed. It was pretty consistent, so I'll get rid of that. I went through 15K, just kind of fast forwarding through the hard miles, 15K in about 57:30 something, 57:33 I think it was. So the second 5K and the third 5K were slower than the first 5K, but they were both similar to one another, a little bit of a slowdown there. And coming out into the long stretch, the last 0.7 of a mile, that's really that uphill part that Ben and I were running down during the cool down. And you can see the tall buildings that are near the start and finish line, and they're just not getting any closer. You might think that for 0.7 of a mile that you can just gut up and dig in and get the thing over with, and you would be wrong for thinking that. It was just a suffer fest. I could see Elle in front of me, a little bit out of my reach, and ahead of her I could see Gabriella, and she was way out of reach for both me and Elle. And there was no one else near us. I think I could see Justin Frunder ahead of Gabriella, and he was in my age group. If it were a half marathon, I could have chased him down, but I didn't have the room to catch him. He's a lot fitter than me anyway. But there was no one else behind me, so it was just a matter of maintaining just to protect my place. I came in at 62:07 chip time, which is not that far off. It's less than 10 seconds off what I did for Tar Heel, and it's less than 20 seconds off of what I did for the Triple Crown road race. So I've been pretty consistent with my 10 milers, even though some of them have been really hard efforts. Okay, so that's the recap. Now to talk about what everyone's been waiting to hear about is the shoes. The Vaporfly 3, Vaporfly Next Percent 3, Vaporfly 3, I don't know that they're shortening it or not. It feels like a Vaporfly, I will say that. I will say it does feel different from the Vaporfly Next Percent 1. Again, I don't have the Vaporfly Next Percent 2. In that it feels like I can tell there's more foam, and I can tell the foam is a different consistency. I've heard some shoe tubers talk about it being more of a rubbery foam rather than a styrofoamy foam like the Zoom X in the original Vaporfly. I could see that. It definitely feels more stable. I do think it has a good push off. I do think it's still going to have a good wheelhouse. I just think that I am immune to the magic you get from a new pair of Vaporflies. Now I've run in Vaporflies so much. Still a great shoe, and probably the right shoe to choose for today. As I've mentioned before on this channel, durability is always a concern. It's really the biggest con I have with Vaporflies. I've taken these on one run, and that's this 10-mile race. And I might throw up a picture right here to show a little bit closer. But in my high wear area, you can already tell the evidence of that wear after that one run. That's mainly cosmetic, and the outsole looks good. But, I mean, it's there. So these will definitely be something that I only wear for races. And I don't know how many times I will wear them before now in Chicago. I mentioned Chicago because these are on the short list. We're on what I'll call a shoe watch now, because I'm going to be, for the next few months, narrowing down which shoe I'm going to wear at the Chicago Marathon on October 8th. So right now it's between, I'd say, three choices. The Vaporfly 3, the Hoka Rocket X2, which I wore for Tar Heel 10-miler, and the Asics Metaspeed Edge Plus, which I've recently done a comprehensive review on. A lot of similarities between the two and some major differences. It's really gonna be what I want to have on my feet at the end of the marathon. While we're talking about shoes, I mentioned it while I was walking around, but we talk about race shoes a lot. The Fresh Foam More V4 by New Balance is a fantastic easy run shoe, and something that I loved putting on my feet after running a hard 10-miler. I would run long runs in it, easy days. It's worth it. $150 at full price if they don't discount it. Anyway, that's enough about shoes. I was able to use my gift card to cut into some new swag from Fleet Feet and get another pair of Gooder racing sunglasses. I didn't mean to wear this shirt to match the sunglasses, but I do like the wraparounds for races. That's about all I have for you today. Don't forget, just like those LSD long runs, LSD, like, subscribe, ding the bell, so that I can help grow the channel a little bit. Thank you for tuning in and watching all the way to the end, and I'll see you guys in the next video.